Hey there, welcome to episode 53 of the FFS Talk audio program. I am your host, Dan Hugo, and today is Thanksgiving 2024. It is Thursday, November 28th. In fact, 2024, the time is now 3:55 p.m. Late in the day, yes, it's true, but it is Thanksgiving after all, and yesterday's episode of Quaggling Sand concerned my fondness for a hermetic, not hermetic, a hermetic holiday such as this one. So I got things to do. But the first episode of season 1, that is episode 53 of this very program, is still on the list. And so here we are. Hopefully you had, because you're not listening to this on Thanksgiving, hopefully you had a fine holiday weekend, whatever you ended up doing. So episode 53, the first of season 1. Season 0 is still around, don't worry. It's not going anywhere. Season 1 begins. If you are not familiar with FFS Talk, I will simply say it's an Irish expression, abbreviated to 3 letters. If you don't know what FFS means, maybe you need to speak to some more Irish people. The FFS Talk audio program is really focused on what works, what doesn't, and what we can do about it. It's a great idea for a discussion with more than one person, but monologues are where it's at. So I've mentioned this, I think I mentioned this in the last episode. One goal is to, during season 1, swing into some guest discussions, maybe some debate, not intended to be argument so much, but some ideas, bounce some ideas around. Maybe, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, mine's better. Maybe yours is better. There's always some notion floating around that nobody ever mentions, but might make a difference. So you never know. With all that said, hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you are able to locate the episode description. Therein you shall find the show notes with the summary, which I will read to you, and 2 links today. I'm not providing you links about rivers and walls and timelines and historical references, which I will make, but will not back up with references that you can go check. But you can go check them anyway. Surely there's some sort of internet technology that enables search. So let's get to it. The show notes for today's episode, the summary being, our online world is mostly about infinite scroll. The worst invention ever, by the way. A reverse chronological ordering of events, photos, brief messages, our unread emails maybe, and other messages, other things that must have our attention. Oh, I'm ad-libbing there for a second. Are we always catching up, leaving out the items that fall off the bottom of our attention span? And is there a better way to do this? So yeah, is everything that we are interested in appearing on a feed or a river somewhere? Is that how people get their news? Still on Facebook? If it's not on Facebook, I don't know about it. Oh, I hope not. The links for today's episode, like I said, the same usual 2 shameless self-promotion links. But do note, first of all, you don't need to spend any money on either of these. Buymeacoffee.com. I know it's right in the name, but don't worry. Buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo. Buy me a coffee. If I say it enough times, it sounds like I'm trying a call to action, perhaps. Buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo has a profile page with links to my various audio programs and other projects. I use it as a sort of a landing page that I don't have to fix because nobody else will. The Buy Me a Coffee platform makes it a little bit challenging to edit those pages, but it does work well enough. And I recently, so episode 1 was this week on Monday, on the 25 November, the Buy Me an Update. So Buy Me a Coffee does offer the ability to publish, hosted on their platform, publish audio and video updates. So I've started doing that. Why? Well, because I can summarize some updates across anything that's relevant to all of my various projects. I can stick in one place, and then if you happen to be listening to content from Buy Me a Coffee, or you can just play it, I'm trying to keep them under 5 minutes. I think I'm hitting too close to, or maybe slightly over 5 minutes. But the idea, though, is to provide a brief update, Buy Me an Update, for people interested in such things. So if I launch a website for FFS Talk and then we go on a ski trip to a very hot place. Now you know what I'm saying. I will announce it here, but if I'm doing something that affects all of my various projects, or if I'm just a general across the board, I don't have to repeat it in every episode. I don't have to forget, did I mention it in the last week's or this week's? As well, I do a very brief summary of what was going on for the week before in my various projects and stuff. So episodes, other such things. So I publish that on Monday mornings. So I will probably not go into such detail as this. It's hard to find. The Buy Me a Coffee website, like I said, it could use some modernization, perhaps, maybe some user experience effort. But if you go to the posts section of my profile there, I updated my profile page, so it's right at the beginning, right at the top. Posts, go to the posts section, or if you scroll down to the bottom of the page that you land on when you click on the buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo link, they will be there. As well, Dan's Ko-fi, coffee. The best way to pronounce that is tricky. I don't want to confuse. It's not coffee. It's ko-fi.com/DanHugo. You know what they say when you name something tricky like that? You got to just keep saying it, because it's not. You're not the Beatles. The Beatles could spell Beatles incorrectly, but ko-fi.com, maybe not. ko-fi.com/DanHugo. I use this site. I'm starting to use this a little bit more it's almost like a Twitter feed. Ooh, how ironic, a feed. So I'll try to see if there's an easy way to mix these together so they kind of cross-pollinate each other. The Ko-fi website, it does enable audio posts, but they must be audio posted somewhere else. And the list of supported points of origin for those audio clips is not large. It's you can post to YouTube, but it's not quite what I expected. So I was originally going to do the Buy Me an Update, whatever I would call it, on Ko-fi.com, but Buy Me an Update on buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo. There it is. So check those out. You don't have to spend any money. If you do spend money there, all proceeds go towards coffee or coffee accessories. I paused there because there was an ambulance that I believe you would be able to hear. So hopefully, we'll see. I usually don't edit out such things. They're just a little bit of noise. It's very brief. If it was going on for an hour, that would be very different. But as I always say, production by street. Very easily audible and visual range of a non-trivial byway before the internet. So did you ever read a newspaper? There's a lot of history behind the way, and you can probably find the history of it in a newspaper somewhere. The way a newspaper and articles within it are laid out, with the hero and the headlines and the deck and the teas and so on. So there's different ways of structuring the publication itself so that it is attention grabbing on the newsstand. Do we still have newsstands and news agents? And hard to say. So the publication itself, when it's folded and presented to a potential purchaser, or as you scroll through, turn pages in a newspaper, the headline, you're scanning this block of this big giant gray piece of paper with blocks of articles, column inches, columnar data. So you're looking for the headlines. Where's that thing I wanted to get an update on? What I read about it yesterday. What's going on today? These are all sort of legacy and proven functionality, I guess you could say. So there's a front page and a back page and sections. You kind of know where to look if you were keeping track of maybe the sports section. Oh, that's in the sports section. Oh, where's today's weather? Oh, well, it's on the back of it's on the inside of the first page, or wherever it is in your particular memory of newspapers. I think they still publish newspapers. Something of a spatial memory we all developed back then with our favorite content in the usual places. Oh, my favorite columnist was always over here, and the weather was always over there. The sports section down there, the local news in this section. Oh, there's a headline about local news. Otherwise, there'd be national news. Whatever it is, you could pretty much figure out where you were going, where to get the update on the story from 2 weeks ago or last week. Hey, did they ever Did they ever fill that pothole that they wrote an article about 3 weeks ago? Things like this. So we developed this spatial memory, so we kind of knew where to look, where to keep track of the things that we were following with our favorite content in the usual places, right? So if they moved it, there was probably a more newsworthy item, some kind of a big story. And if there was a big story, it would run for a few days and we could check back, and there, with each edition of this paper, there'd be some, little update. By the way, the inverted pyramid is designed so that you can pick up in the middle of a story, right? So, here's the thing that's going on. I don't know how did we get here? Oh, I'll just keep reading the article, and it goes through all of the background, all the details. This is how online news is still published today. The inverted pyramid is still the preferred style, which is somewhat problematic, I think, because we have the internet. Clickbait headlines, they were very much a thing back in the day. Can you imagine when somebody was painting on a cave wall a very long time ago? They were like, I'm going to make these bigger than humans, and that will get more attention. The physicality was not something that entered into normal discussion, though. The clickbait headlines were just headlines, right? Ooh, that looks exciting. I'm going to buy this newspaper so I can read about it. And nobody not in the industry would be pondering, the deck for this article is the typeface they're using is particularly, the T's on the front. There's a T's on the, turn to section 3, turn to the sport, turn to so-and-so's column, etc. So these are all just parts of the structure. They would get attention. They would lead people through a reading path. Sometimes people would become new fans of particular content and whatnot. So, but these were not subject to scrutiny so much. Occasionally, right? They're making a big thing of this. Why is this making headlines when that could be, the thing? It got pushed to the back page. It only appeared in the back page, especially when there were updates or retractions. The headline appears on the home page or the front page. Sorry, using modern technology or terminology for modern technology. The headline on the front page could be wrong, right? The story might be in error. The retraction, nowhere near as large, nowhere near as prominent. Although it is interesting to note, sorry, I had to get some water there. I'm still got a thing going on here. It is interesting to note that when you had a newspaper article and then it had errors in it, or something was misreported or missing or whatever, if they wanted to publish, make available a retraction or an update, they could do so, and the context could be provided in the previous article. So they may say, in a previous article, we mentioned that this and this and this, but we have to update information, or we need to retract the article because of this and that, because the information was already out in the world. So the one interesting thing also about newspapers, you could never be so sure who was reading what. No publisher actually knew who might be reading what, in fact. So making an attention-grabbing headline or article in general, publishing it and hoping for the best is how to generate advertising revenue. So that was about it. So that's when these layout choices and whatnot came into play. But for the casual newspaper consumer, I just want to know what the sports score is. I want to know the weather for tomorrow. I want to know what happened with the school board meeting, whatever it is. There's a famous quote when it comes to sort of open loop advertising like this. You publish a newspaper, you know what their circulation is, you know how many people are buying papers, but who knows what they're reading. So the famous quote is, my advertising budget is 50% effective. So 50% of the money I spend on advertising results in a positive outcome. And I'm not stating the quote exactly, of course. So 50% of my advertising spend is effective and gets me new business. I'm just not sure which 50% or which half of my advertising revenue. Anyway, so the point is nobody really knew for sure what was being read or what was being consumed. It was just, you hope for the best. And of course we had the newspaper in our hand, which was always nice. Television, not always. Sometimes they built up and you had to recycle them. whatever good that does. Television news and information, though, not to say that TV wasn't an even bigger and more popular source of news and information and entertainment, of course, and now pretty much they're all the same thing. In the days before TiVo and now YouTube and so on, catching the 5 o'clock news was a real thing, with national news, then your local at 5:30 maybe, and then another round of national at 6 p.m. in your local time zone, and so on. So you would definitely want, and then there was the evening news. So before Johnny Carson, got to catch the last news of the night. TV news was challenging given the one and done nature. So we're not, some people might record it on a VCR. I can't imagine that was too common. The block structure was ubiquitous, probably still is, though. Well, TV news is now on YouTube anyway, but you'd have the A block for the big stories, the B block, the C block, etc., or whatever they would want to call them. So that they would order it sort of like an inverted pyramid. But TV was ephemeral, so you would watch the show or you would miss the show, and you would catch the one tomorrow, and then you missed out. The audience knew basically what to expect as far as a format, though. The same time on their favorite channel each day, and the usual headlines, the human interest, sports, weather, and so on. So news especially, because there's often a lot of stuff going on in the world, and so if you have a 30-minute news show on TV, in the old days, you had to pack it in there. You had to structure it tight, keep it tight. 2-minute human interest story, if at all, right? Oh, how come you can't go into a long-form discussion like people do now? Well, because TV was a different time. Unlike newspapers, television was ephemeral, making it more difficult to go back and review the progression of a news topic. And who does that unless you're doing research for something anyway? Nobody is saying, oh, let me go back and read through or watch previous episodes of a news story from last week and see what was happening every day. Even with newspapers, this would probably be rare. Do people really go back and review articles from a month ago if they still have the papers handy? It used to be you could go to the library and see various newspapers. Depending on the size of the library, they may have a pretty substantial news archive, or you could resort to microfiche. None of this is really essential anymore because you can pull it up on your favorite websites. To know what was going on, though, especially if we were interested in a particular story, we needed to pay attention. So you actually have to watch the news, or ask your friend, or watch the news tomorrow. Try to find a newspaper from today or yesterday. But these were doable. These were not beyond the realm of possibility. Then came rivers. Dave Weiner, inventor of RSS version 2.0. This is the XML version, RSS 1.0. The RDF site summary version, which could be published as XML, but RSS 2.0 got away from RDF and became really simple syndication, I think it is. So really simple syndication 2.0. He also added support for the enclosures element, which is how podcasting became a thing in the early days, thanks to his collaboration with Adam Curry of the No Agenda podcast, formerly of MTV. The history of podcasting is interesting and is often misremembered. So just want to plant those seeds if you're curious. He was a proponent of, and even a developer of, software demonstrating what he called the river of news. I did look. There is a website called there's a website called the River of News app. That is not him. But if you look for the River of News or River of News or River and Dave Weiner, W-I-N-E-R, you'll find some things. So here news would be presented in reverse chronological order. So newest items at the top, you know what I'm talking about. This is how everything is now. And by making use of RSS feeds, which some people don't know what those are anymore, it's unfortunate. Although RSS does need to grow up a little bit, it needs to be modern. Go back to RDF. One could aggregate news or anything from a variety of sources, publishing their content with RSS and display it as you liked. So if I had a sports news feed from my favorite newspaper, I could subscribe to their RSS feed. I don't know if feed was so commonly used then. So river, maybe they called it a feed, but the river was the presentation, the river of news. So you take a feed, you aggregate it, so you mix together all of your favorite feeds from different websites. Oh, I want to have news about movie stars. I want to have current sports. I want to have whatever else, right? Blog posts from my friends, all that. So it all mixed together onto the river of news. And you could read using your river of news aggregator however you want. So, I'm creating my own publication that's drawing in all of my topics of interest so that I can review them at my leisure. This is still a thing today with variations on grouping of items, how many items are stored locally if you review, whether full website content is displayed within some aggregator application or sent to your favorite web browser. This was a Feedly, which came after Google Reader. That was a thing for a while. Oh, you're opening my content in your browser. They should go to the normal browser. But yeah, RSS feeds are still alive and well, and some people use them and some people don't. Some people think they're an anachronism. I am in the middle. I believe that RSS 2.0 is kind of stagnant. I believe that there is much more information we could be sharing in more useful ways, and that is where activity streams and activity pub and to a lesser extent maybe the AT protocol from Blue Sky folks. But there are different ways to do things in modernity, and so hopefully that will catch on. In some small way, that's a part of what my solution is, although I do not go into detail on this today. With the river, you could still go back in time to some extent, however long your RSS feed was available. You could bookmark things. Bookmarking is now, I don't even know if people do it anymore. Review previous items, and it would even be possible to aggregate around a particular news story over time. Google News has been doing this for many years. Other variations on this theme are out there to try. So you can basically find a historical river of news on a particular topic. So let me follow this story. Let me see how that pothole turned out, etc. But at any given time, there is new stuff to check out right at the top. Why go back in time when it is now a challenge just to keep up with the present? And that is a real problem, I think. It can actually cause anxiety in some, which is probably not what we're supposed to be doing. So you can post it on your wall. There were other social networks before, but once Facebook, or the Facebook at first, if you were in the early days, came on the scene, everything changed. By the way, Facebook used to support RSS, but that did not prove to be in their business interest, I suppose. They managed to make the river of news a bit more personal, connecting classmates, friends, later family, work colleagues, bad actors, robots, so that everybody could get a sense of other rivers while they were getting a sense of yours. So now everything I'm reading, everything I'm interested in, everything I'm keeping track of, I can share with others in my friends list. You can say I'm air quoting that. And then they could see yours and so on. So now we're all seeing a kind of an intermingly aggregation of our different interests. Like, oh, surely if you're friends with so-and-so, you must be interested in this thing. And over time, of course, they could tune that for maximal stickiness, maximal interaction and engagement, maximal monetization. Usually the River of News aggregator was showing content from other places. So you would subscribe to an RSS feed with the little orange icon from your favorite whatever. Maybe it's a blog, maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's a proper mainstream media news site, maybe, who knows where. And then they're all kind of mingling together. Obviously a podcatcher, as Adam Curry first called it, would aggregate specifically podcast feeds and would facilitate playing them and remembering where you were when you left off and so on. Audio content and then later video content is a little bit trickier. You don't read an article and then you're done. You might listen to a podcast, scroll back, listen to another part of it again, write down that information, whatever it is. So the interaction with the content is a little bit different. But generally speaking, you could aggregate the things you were interested in. Now, the Facebook is integrating other people's interests into this big giant Facebook, what they called the wall initially. So now, I can post something. And you could now post your own wall, or other people could post to your, I think you used to be able to post to other people's walls. I don't know how they do that now. So now not only am I seeing what you're seeing and you're seeing what I'm seeing as far as interests and whatnot, but now I can post to my own feed, which is now my wall on Facebook, or you can post to your wall and I will see what you posted. So now you're suddenly publishing in the Facebook universe and other people are able to see what it is that you're publishing or sharing. And then they can reshare with other people. And so other people will see what you're doing. And if that isn't the perfect way to enter into marketing products and services and getting away from this silly keeping in touch with friends, I don't know what is. So the wall is what Facebook originally called it. Now I think it's called more of a timeline. And in general, everything is a feed. People don't really talk about RSS so much anymore, but what's in my feed, I think people will generally understand what you're talking about. And thanks to what they were calling frictionless sharing, this only became easier and easier. So now I can share anything from anywhere onto my timeline, onto my wall, and all of my Facebook friends could see it as part of their, oh, Dan Hugo shared this. And so they'll say, oh, Dan, I know who Dan Hugo is. Whatever he shared must be interesting. It must be fascinating. Except, what is this FFS talk thing he's sharing? That doesn't look interesting. So, hit or miss, but then Facebook could keep track of the things that you ended up liking or engaging with, commenting on, and so on. Or, oh, you reshared that. You must like posts from Dan Hugo about this FFS talk thing. We'll show you more. So what people I know are talking about, thinking about, and what they're doing, and how can I miss out? How can I not miss out? That's the important part. I don't want to miss out. So all of these things have combined to make this like nonstop fire hose. And that's one of the downsides. When you hand your feed, which is now a generic term, of course, it could be a For You page, it could be a recommended, it could be a timeline, whatever it is. You hand it over to a platform of choice, and you leave it to them to program, if you will, what using what we have come to know as the algorithm, what it is they intend to steer your attention towards. So that might be towards items that may be more lucrative for the platform. Like, we're going to show you advertising instead of your friend's picture from graduation. We'll show you that in a couple of days. Advertisements are perhaps links to partner platforms or native advertisements that look like external news articles or other such things. These are all ways to monetize your attention, the attention economy. Feeds are still feeding us ephemeral items at alarming rates, often distracting in that they aim to deliver the things that we want to see, that we want to engage with, want to click on. And the ordering is now a minor concern, whether it's chronological or not, so that we are seeing the things that are most excited, that we are most excited by, that we are more likely to click on, that are easily monetizable for revenue generation, whether they are from a week ago or from 5 seconds ago. I used to say this to food truck people all the time when they were using Instagram. If you post something on Instagram and you say, today we are at whatever, and you have a picture of your food truck at that location, maybe you have some people in line and whatnot, like, hey, come on down and see us. Now, the Instagram does show the day. I think it'll say like a day ago or 10 weeks ago or whatever. But if you say, we're here today, the casual scroller through their Instagram feed will see, oh, I've been following my favorite food truck and they're here today. I'm going to go over there. And then you go over wherever that was and there's no food truck there. What? I went there and you weren't there. Oh, that was 4 days ago. Instagram just showed it to you now because they wanted to show you a bunch of things they thought were more important last time. So the machinery that turns that crank to display information in your feed or in your timeline or whatever, it may not have your best interests or chronology in the decision-making process. It may be all about what best to monetize. We'll show you things that you're the most interested in and most likely to click on. And if they happen to be ads, so much the better. They're doing it for their own benefit. Advertisements are all that matters. Feeds are still feeding us ephemeral data, like I said, alarming rates, and that's the take home. Hence my restatement of it. When you are deluged with this format of data, this structure, this methodology, we're just going to keep feeding you the latest thing. And then we'll mix in stuff that's lucrative for us or that may be interesting to you. We'll see if we can get another click out of you on a subscription or a follow or whatever. It becomes overwhelming for some. But in general, it's an easy way to generate a non-stop stream of things that are distracting or attention grabbing and they may not actually be in your best interest, but in the best interest of the advertisers and then ultimately the platform. Since some of the value of what we experience in our own personalized feed comes from our familiarity and credibility assigned to our friends, whether these are real friends or parasocial friends or completely false friends. They're not even people, perhaps. Advertising can take maximal advantage of this, while news items, pressing matters, and topical current items you are probably still interested in can fall below the noise floor. That is, you can't hear them above the din. But we need to show you the latest Amazon ad. Here's 40 images in a carousel that you can scroll through on your Instagram feed. Forget about that food truck you were interested in. That'll still be there. No, it won't. So you forget about these things. You're inundated with things that they want to show you, not necessarily the things that you really want to see. These are the things that they think you want to see, mixed in with. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here. This is just the nature of the beast. Who has time to go back and figure out what is going on with that one news story? So it's easier to, well, here's my worst example that was actually bothersome enough for me to want to tell this story. And it's a good example. The example of missing persons posts on Facebook. This was always annoying. And as I was developing a platform at the time to work in this space of missing people, in fact, it's something I will probably talk about again on the Cafe Genius Impresario's audio program, I began to notice just how troubling this was. Missing person posts on Facebook that people were posting and resharing and interacting with at kind of an alarming rate. And I will point out that I had an experimental Facebook account where I just accepted every friend request and I would click on the recommended and all. So I had 5,000 friends and I probably knew maybe 10% of them, maybe. So all manner of content here. So I can't say that it's like a universal problem, but it certainly exists. I don't use Facebook now, so I don't know if this is improved over time, but as recently as 4 years ago, this is when I was working on that project, people were quite happy to share or reshare, like, and even comment on, usually with a heart or a crying emoji, depending on whether they had actually read the associated information, which they usually did not. So the heart was more generic. Here's the problem. Most of the time, and this is my unscientific anecdotal research, the reports were old. So they're resharing, missing person, missing this. They were old by months or even years. The person had been found usually, and the news was either good or bad. It's unfortunate that sometimes a missing person doesn't make it back, and that's very sad, of course. But it's disingenuous to post a missing person report as though you are doing something. The fact is, resharing and otherwise interacting with these items was not only a waste of time, but actually counterproductive. Wait, why would it be counterproductive? You're just posting something on Facebook. Who cares? Well, by not taking the time to review a missing person post prior to resharing it, that person was not only not doing anything, but they were using the environment of faux trust to waste the time of others who might also reshare. And in fact, such action could be construed as actual effort. I am helping to find the missing person by doing this, by sharing it on Facebook, is exactly wrong. And again, counterproductive. Hey, I'm sharing this missing person report on Facebook. I'm doing my part. And then 25 other people say, yeah, us too. But you're sharing information about a person that was found. They were found in good condition. They were fine. They were unhurt. They had wandered off. Resharing something on Facebook about that doesn't do anything, and it wastes people's time. And in fact, it gives people the impression that, oh, okay, they found the person. I will continue to share things on Facebook. So ridiculous. Some small bits of evidence, though, that people were consuming items in their feed in a very casual way, relying more on who shared or reshared and what the headline and picture are telling them, not so much concern for the details. So by sharing a missing person report on Facebook, all you're doing is getting more engagement on the thing you shared, which for the algorithm might be good. Oh, okay, when Dan shares posts, his friends like them. So we'll do that more often. But in fact, you may as well be sharing conspiracy theories. I mean, it actually, it frustrates me because it's just so ridiculous. It's so far beyond, and for a while I was actually commenting on if you actually click on this thing that you shared and that your heart goes out, and if you actually click on it and you read the article or whatever the update is or however the structure is of whatever they were sharing, and it always varied, right? They found the kid 6 months ago. They found them sick. They were in good health. The kidnapper was apprehended before anything. They were still running from the police, but they were found. They were found months ago, last year. They were found for why not even just click on it and take a moment? Even that would be doing something. But no, blind sharing of things that are completely unverified or not current does nothing. Well, why would they be sharing something that's not current? Because the effort required to dive into links that are on social media is effort. And when an image, a static image of a missing person, pictures, or the missing little, it's not a headline per se, but it's in the picture as a kind of a banner. Those images don't change. There's no status update. There's no current version of this. So if I shared a missing person link, but the image that was in the link would be updated to say found, right? Suddenly that becomes a little bit more useful because you see this and you're like, oh, okay, person found. Now you're at least extending the reach of this announcement to a familiar platform that people are consuming content on, but they're getting current information rather than information that's months or years out of date. So in one case, you're making actual utility. In another case, you are ridiculously wasting time and resources. So let's talk about dashboards. The river of news is a nice idea for some applications, but if you actually want to know what is happening now and to get some sense of the current status, if it's changed over recent time, you are almost certainly not going to actually pursue that. The river, your feed, is a fire hose. Usually we use it for doom scrolling or liking your reels on Instagram and whatnot. But tell me whether a particular missing person has been found. Hey, I'm almost going back to that example. Tell me if they've been found, and you have some searching to do. Same goes for a lot of news items, except they do it basically correct. Wait a minute, somebody's doing something right. That's nice. So one of the problems with the river is you saw that missing person post, and that was that yesterday or 2 days ago? Oh, did they find that person? Let me go see. Oh, now I got to find the post. Oh, now I got to, where was I? So because we now live in a culture of it's in my feed, we don't always know where. So have you ever looked at the weather, final sports scores, investment pricing? Like, what's the price of that stock? There are usually many topic areas where the river is not the way to source authoritative information. And even if you want to share the latest, say, DJT stock price for whatever reason, you are hopefully going to share a link to its price dashboard, some real-time or current reporting, which will be current or close to it when someone visits it, rather than whatever screenshot or description was in your original shared item. So if you snap a picture of a low stock price or today's weather, that might be interesting, but that is not the current weather. So you'll sometimes see people take a screenshot on their phone of, oh, it's 2 degrees outside. Okay. So your intent is to not share the weather. It's to share my weather experience at this moment. So those are kind of 2 different things, right? So in the case where I want to share the weather for where I am, I should give you a link to something that provides you with current information and historical data. Hey, look, the low was 2 degrees, but the high was 114. That's crazy. Oh, you must be on the moon. So something you probably do without thinking is you look at a calendar to determine when some holiday or event is taking place, or perhaps when you have a meeting or some other appointment. Imagine if you had to scroll through your feed, whichever feed it is. It could be, did they tweet me? Did they send me something on Threads? Did I get a direct message on LinkedIn? To figure out when you were supposed to meet with someone and you missed their post or message or whatever it was that indicated that they needed to reschedule. There is a time and a place for the river, and according to my calendar, this one isn't. So we should be reorienting towards better tools. This is the what can we do about it part. So by the way, I did what doesn't work first. Rivers work. They work for some things, but they're not the end all and be all. In fact, rivers have been the rage in Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky. The list goes on and on and on. Social media platforms, but other use cases as well. Lean into this, not only for their own needs, right? By always showing content that is current first, you're more likely to grab someone's attention. Oh, I got to read this. But you're driving. I know, but did you see the latest news from whoever? But that's really for their own needs, right? They need to see engagement. They need to have users. They need to have active users. They need to have people that will click on advertisements. Because the river has become the norm, the machine works that way. The tweet screenshot is popular. Why? Because that tweet might disappear or get lost in the noise. So a screenshot is the best way to share on another river for some other time. Is it really? By the way, I'm almost losing patience at this point with people who write, journalists, I guess, or some sort of article writers for some wherever. They will write 500 words on a 10-word tweet. So they will take a snapshot of the tweet. They'll put the text of the tweet in the article. They'll link to the tweet. So you got all bases covered at all times. And the newspaper article will then go ahead and give you way more information than could possibly matter. I don't like it. As a practical matter, though, it makes sense to provide and present some information in its current form with the ability to view a history. So where are we now? How did we get here, etc. Which is why those examples already given do exactly this. Weather. I want to know what the weather is now, but how cold was it this morning? What is the weather trend? Like, show me what the weather typically is in this week. So I kind of have some idea. Oh, we're 10 degrees above normal. Okay, so if I look over the previous years, I can kind of guess that tomorrow is going to be, and you can do that into the future. So you can be wrong, but you'll at least have some vague notion. But if I had to look through a news feed to hear about people, or worse, tweets, retweets, comments, replies, I think the weather's going to be, you'd go nuts, right? There's way too much noise to be of actual utility. So let's look at maps. Maps are another great example, especially if they display a route or a historical track. So this is where I'm going, or this is where I have been, where you are the blue dot. I don't know what color it is on Apple Maps, but I think blue dot has become kind of a thing, right? So that's where I am right now. And you also know where you are intending to go without needing to review posts from a feed from the last hour, right? Like, okay, we are here now. That's it. You don't need to look anywhere else. That's where I am. The information you want, perhaps even need, is presented in the most useful way. So not everything is a river. Not everything is a feed. Sometimes it's a map. Sometimes it's a calendar. Sometimes it's a timeline. Sometimes it's a 3D rendering. Sometimes it's a VR, whatever. There are ways to make use of and now we have large language models and analytical tools. You could have something summarize the current state of affairs, make a nice 3D image out of it, and display it in a way that you could view on your Oculus or whatever, right? So you could summarize the timeline, the feed, the commentary, the changing information in such a way as that it's useful to know what's happening right now, right? So if you can imagine the dashboard, which I'm proposing is a better way in some cases to consume information. For example, what is my friend doing right now? So if they've published something on Instagram or Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever, you could go and examine their feeds. But what if you had your personal dashboard? And by the way, yes, Yahoo was very big on dashboards for a while, and Yahoo kind of sucks, and they got sold off and all that. But the dashboard principle still enables you to say, okay, I'm interested in knowing what my friend is up to, so I'm going to have a thing. They're calling them agents now, right? So you have an agent that's actually been around for a while. You have an agent that might read through their social media feeds and whatnot. Maybe there's a calendar involved or whatever, and it could say your friend is probably at the library right now or working or whatever. So you don't really need to go hunting around. The computer can do that work for you and can present you the information not as a river of news, but as a summary on a dashboard. The dashboard can have changing data, but you know where to look. Literally look at your dashboard in a car if you have one. The speedometer is always where it's supposed to be, and it indicates the current speed. You don't have to go scrolling through anything to figure out how fast your car is going. It tells you. So information can come to you the way you want it to in a dashboard scheme, and you always know where to look. I always know the gas gauge is over here. I always know the temperature is over there. I always know where are the knobs on my dashboard. I can't control the volume of the. What's a touch screen doing here? So knobs are coming back, by the way. Coming back. Yeah, I said that. So yeah, these are all the way we present information and consume it and interact with it doesn't need to be the universal. For example, now the big rage is, will Blue Sky replace Twitter? And maybe, because they've basically recreated Twitter with some new ideas. The what's his first name? Raymond Loewy principle. If you're going to sell something surprising, make it familiar. So you take the Twitter concept, and Blue Sky was a spinoff from Twitter. It was kind of founded in there anyway with Jack Dorsey and all that. So it's very Twitter-like, but it is also doing some interesting things. Ultimately, they probably will not. Well, we'll see. Who knows? They're different in a gee whiz sense, but real utility, we'll see. Mastodon kind of looks like the Mastodon server concept can be deployed under various, there are thousands of Mastodon servers, and they can all be a little bit different, doing, different themes and different sign-up policies and whatnot. But they're all basically the same, and they all interoperate, and that's very cool, but too complicated for some. By the way, I do have a Blue Sky account, and I have four Mastodon accounts so far, on four accounts on 4 different servers, I should say. So there is a time and a place for this river style of presentation. But what if we could actually make use of other technologies like aggregation and summarization so that we could just look in one spot and see, we can see what's happening. We use the correct tool for the job, whatever it is, and have access to information when you want or need it rather than having to go looking for it, and save the distractions for when you have a casual browsing desire and you want to figure out what Perez Hilton has to say about any particular thing. Then, although you could have a dashboard for Perez Hilton as well. So that's the deal. I think the river concept is only undoing, at this point, most of the utility that could be had with real-time news, with real-time interaction, because sometimes real-time interaction is good, but if it drowns out getting correct, useful information into your mind in a timely way, if you are less prone to do any sort of historical, like, wait, is the price right? Is this? And by the way, this is why Amazon doesn't provide you price history so easily, and that's why third-party services like Honey and Camel, and is it Join Honey or Get Honey or whatever? These websites that track prices over time, they show you historical data, but products on Amazon are displayed like a dashboard, right? Not a feed. So they have a feed too. They give you updates and notifications and stuff about the things you want to buy, they want you to buy. But in order to get the historical information, you need to be keeping track of it using these third-party tools or whatever. So there are all kinds of examples out in the wild where the river style of presentation does not make sense, or it would actually be harmful to the business in their view. There are some cases, though, where a dashboard view would be substantially better, and that is also not interesting because it's not as lucrative. What if Twitter provided a card-style interface with all of your follows? Like, I'm following my favorite 30 people, and it gave you their last status update or their last post or whatever as a little card. You just look at it real quick. Oh, yep, okay, got it. I can see what they're thinking right now. You don't have to go scrolling through it. You could present it like a map style, like 2 dimensions, calendar, map. There's a reason those are so informative, so information rich, so information dense, because they make use of 2 dimensions, and you don't have to be scrolling around too much. You can scroll around a map, obviously, but that is an interesting, something to think about, rather than the river, Because imagine this. Imagine you're using Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever your favorite distraction is now, Threads, or hopefully a Mastodon server in some way. I want to see what the latest post is from the person. I don't remember their name. I know they post about the thing I'm very interested in, and I know what their little icon was. So you just scroll through and you see if you can figure out, like, oh, where's that? I just started following them. I don't remember their name. So you got to scroll past a whole bunch of stuff. But what if you said, I am interested in this person in particular? You can put them in a list. But what if you had a dashboard of the top 30 people that I'm interested in knowing what they last said? Twitter dashboard, Blue Sky dashboard, Mastodon dashboard. So things like this. So I think there is a time and a place for the comeback of the dashboard. I believe that would solve some of our information overload and just simple lacking information scenarios that we all run into now and then because there's just too much flying at us. So that is what I have to say. Would be interested to know what your thoughts are. You can always be a guest. We'll get that rolling during season 1. And remember, this is episode 1 of that very season. It's episode 53 of season 1. So it's the first episode, not episode 1. Whatever, we're not even going to edit this out. That's about all I have to say on this, the 28th of November, 2024, Thanksgiving Day. Hopefully yours was wonderful. Take it easy. My voice almost made it all the way through. I need to figure out the water hydration thing. But hopefully some improvement, being able to speak without strain. And that is all I have to say. Take care.